Welcome to the UpNext AI podcast. It's Monday, July 6th, 2026, and here's what matters in AI today. First up, a useful snapshot of the open source AI landscape. Simon Willison highlighted a new open source AI gap map from Current AI, which describes itself as a non-profit founded at the AI Action Summit in Paris in February of 2025 and backed by $400 million already committed. The project's pitch is essentially this. If people keep talking about a public option for AI, what is actually missing from the stack? Their first version tries to answer that by indexing 421 products in depth, including 266 software tools and libraries, 85 models, 50 datasets, and 20 hardware projects, produced by 228 organizations. Current AI says those are organized across 14 categories and 3 layers of the stack: model components, product and user experience, and infrastructure. Beyond that, it says there's a much larger long tail of 24,400 additional artifacts that are being tracked but not yet scored. What makes this more than just a website is the data release. The underlying materials are published under an MIT license in a public GitHub repository, including 1,184 YAML files plus notebooks, schemas, and scripts. Willison also points out that the project is tracking thousands of GitHub repos, which makes the dataset potentially useful as raw infrastructure for researchers, developers, and policymakers trying to understand where open source AI is strong and where it still depends on a handful of concentrated players. So the headline here is not that open source has caught up. It's that the people behind this effort are trying to make the gaps measurable. Next, a paper in Scientific Reports looks at a problem that matters well beyond cardiology: whether AI explanations are actually stable enough to trust. The study evaluates feature selection methods and SHAP-based interpretability in machine learning models for arrhythmia-analysis. SHAP, if you haven't run into it, is a common way of estimating which input features most influenced a model's prediction. According to the paper, the researchers compared multiple models across ECG datasets, applied different feature selection strategies, checked performance across stratified cross-validation folds, and looked at whether the important features selected by the models overlapped with the features highlighted by SHAP explanations. They report that ensemble methods like random forest, XGBoost, and light GBM, along with SVM, consistently performed best across both binary and multi-class tasks. They also say feature selection improved efficiency, with Lasso and Baruta producing stable results, while RFECV showed overfitting risks even if it sometimes surfaced unique features. What matters most is that the paper doesn't just ask which model scored highest. It asks whether the explanation layer stays consistent when you change folds, methods, and datasets, and whether the interpretability story lines up with the underlying feature selection story. One caveat: this is listed as an unedited early access manuscript, so the wording and possibly some details could still change before final publication. But the practical takeaway is crisp. In high-stakes AI, having an explanation is not the same thing as having a reliable explanation. For the research segment, an archive paper called Theoria asks a basic question: when should an AI answer be trusted? From earlier in the week, the paper proposes what it calls a verification architecture. The idea is to rewrite a candidate solution into a sequence of typed state transitions, with each step tied to an explicit justification, instead of relying only on a model judge to give a single opaque score. The pitch from the abstract is that formal proof systems can provide certainty but only for a limited slice of problems, while LLM judges have broader coverage but are harder to audit after the fact. Theoria is trying to sit between those two extremes by making the reasoning trail easier to inspect. We do have to keep this one narrow because the provided material is limited to the abstract level description. But even at that level, the contribution is clear. It's a proposal for more auditable verification of informal AI reasoning, not just another benchmark score. Bottom line, if this approach works in practice, it could make AI answers easier to check step by step instead of asking users to trust a single model verdict. Are you building apps with voice? Elevate your app's voice capabilities with 11 Labs. Their API is a game changer for embedding dynamic, responsive voice interactions in your applications, providing unprecedented realism, flexibility, and latency. In fact, you're listening to one of their voices right now. If you are a developer looking to elevate user experience with natural voice interfaces, this is your solution. Visit upnext.fm/11 to check out their latest offerings. TechCrunch has a broad profile of Mistral AI, framing it as an OpenAI competitor. The key current facts are straightforward. Mistral was created in 2023. It offers some open-source AI models, and it says its ambition is to put frontier AI in the hands of everyone. The piece also cites big funding numbers, including a rumored $3.5 billion raise at a $23.15 billion valuation, and notes that the company disclosed annual recurring revenue above $400 million, up from $20 million a year earlier. Simon Willison also shared a very concrete AI coding case study. He says, Skolite Udel's 4.0 release Candidate 2 was mostly written with help from Claude Fable at an estimated unsubsidized cost of $149.25. He describes using the model to find release blockers, work through dozens of prompts and commits, and then having GPT-5.5 review the changes and surface additional issues. It's a good reminder that the real workflow story right now is often model plus model, with humans supervising the handoff. LiveMint reports that AI pressure is pushing Indian IT firms to buy capabilities instead of building them from scratch. With limited source detail here, the safe read is that acquisitions are being framed as a faster route to AI expertise as the traditional services model comes under pressure. And finally, The Verge reports that some wealthy American families are using AI to help teach their kids through companies including Forge Prep. The story contrasts that with broad public skepticism saying most Americans do not trust AI, even as affluent early adopters are willing to make it part of schooling. Before we wrap up, a quick note. This podcast is generated with the assistance of AI and is intended for informational purposes only. All referenced articles, research, and commentary remain the property of their original authors and publishers. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review, and that's your briefing for today. Full source links are in the episode notes, and we'll be back tomorrow with What's Up Next.